So the reason the fighters are coming to me is because they know that I understand the process and I understand how to help them enroll in the program where they're doing the most stringent program. So when you sign their enrollment form, it says that we will test for all prohibited substances at all times. So there's a big difference, okay, in what USADA is doing and what VADA is doing. VADA is far more stringent.
So back to my original question. When we talked about the frequency, and we talked once every 10 days, and of course the frequency has to be more than that. Stringent.
And the number of tests that are being performed, and it goes into the word you ask about, stringent.
Stringent, right? And
yeah.
we talked about VADA actually saying on their website 8 weeks standard wise. I'm going to use your term standard wise. 8 weeks prior. So
it's like a sticker on a car in the window, right. When you go up and they say, well, here's the standard for this
right.
car, but
right.
we've got all these extra things. We're going to 12 weeks. Therefore, it's going to cost you more money.
Right. So now that we have established that, where let's say 8 weeks prior is the standard, in negotiations, it can go 10 to 12 weeks. And then, of course, everybody would know that because payments have to be issued. And then you're saying stringent, which is the frequency and once every 10. When we hear all of these numbers as just fans of the sport of boxing, this doesn't sound random. Definitely to me, it doesn't sound like it's random because they're telling you 8 weeks prior to a bout, you're going to be tested. You use the word stringent. Let me finish real quick, Vic. You use the word stringent, but we also have you educating us. In 2011, I wrote the tape back and you heard yourself speaking on it. And you said you stand by it. And even today, where someone can use EPO and manipulate this whole system that we're talking about, how is that random or at least unannounced?
I would say that it's better than no testing.
So there's a word that's been floating around here on this podcast, and it's been floating around on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, and that is the word that's always mentioned, not by you, Margaret, but by other people who promote VADA and fighters, and that word is stringent. We were told here, right here live on this podcast, that the word stringent testing or stringent means once every 10 days. Can you confirm what the stringent testing and VADA testing means, stringent?
Gosh, I don't know. I've never heard anything mentioned in that regard. Basically, sometimes we'll test someone 2 days in a row. It just depends on the program for that specific athlete. Usually what happens is the promotional entity will give us a budget. And so depending on the budget, you kind of now a little bit know the average cost. And I gave you a cost without the doping collection officer that has to travel there. But on the average, if it's a fight, let's say if a fighter enrolls in our program 2 months before a fight, they may be tested 6 times, they may be tested 9 times, they may be tested 5 or 4 times. It just depends. But it may not be on an every 10-day basis because then that kind of defeats the purpose. Then they know every 10 days they got to stop something so they don't test positive for it.